Jason, has there been any answers yet when you guys have thought out what happened yesterday?
We haven't been through the full review as yet, but we'll go through that during the week, and I'm sure we'll come up with a solution as to why we were below what our fans have come to expect of us this year.
Your gut feel?
Well, certainly it wasn't the way we'd like to start. We had a few opportunities early and we missed them, and then they seemed to get a bit of a run on. We talked about having a fast start and making sure that we could start well away from home. So that was disappointing. They seemed to get their tails up, and once they got their confidence up, we were playing catch-up footy for the rest of the day. So it was important that we had a fast start, and we weren't able to do that.
There's this long-running thing about when a team does get a run on with Adelaide, you struggle to hold it. Brendan keeps saying once a 0-0 draw. Why is it so challenging for you? I understand there's momentum in games, but it seems to be really an issue for Adelaide.
Yeah, we've talked about it. We've talked about making sure that we can get that. As you say, if we can't score ourselves, make sure that we can nullify the opposition. I think what hurt us yesterday was, we've been really good at contested ball all year and prided ourselves in that area. And unfortunately, they sort of beat us on the inside. We weren't able to break even in that area at the least. So that put us under pressure all over the ground. Defenders were under pressure. So if we talk about making sure we can get a 0-0 contest, then at least we've got to get that area right to start with.
Did you sense there was a bit of flatness about the team out there, that you were just a little bit off? Not consciously while we were out there, certainly not from my point, but speaking to a few guys since then, they said that we had felt that we were a bit flat in the warm-up, but I wouldn't be reading anything into that because you can sense that on a number of occasions before games where you think, we might be a bit flat or we're not on today, and we come out and we just blitz the opposition. So I wouldn't be reading too much into that. We can search for answers in a number of places, but we'll just diligently go through the review and work out areas that we can get better in. You touched on the kicking before, the goal kicking distances. How deflating is that for a team when you get some really good ones and you can't make opposition pay?
Yeah, it obviously hurts when we can't put scoreboard pressure on, and it does deflate the team. There's no doubt about it. So we've just got to keep working with those guys who are, when they get the opportunities, to make sure that they can kick them and make sure that we can keep putting that scoreboard pressure on.
Now, as Jared Petrenko's had such a big, important role for the team, were you slightly surprised he's started as a sub yesterday, and I guess also how difficult is it to get that sub right?
Yeah, Jared was obviously disappointed that he wasn't able to start, and he's been a really key member of our team this year. He's provided that real forward pressure that we need. So I think we made mention of it as a forward group that we had to pick up the slack in that area, and we weren't able to do it. And I'm sure we'll see Jared hopefully come back into the side in a more permanent sort of role rather than the sub.
A struggle to prevent the opposition from scoring when you guys can't score. Is that the most sort of distressing trend looking ahead to the second half of the season for you guys?
Well, I think ideally we'd like to make sure that we get our game plan right, and if that's working well, then we're able to score ourselves. So I suppose that's a secondary thing to that. We'd like to make sure that we can put the score on the board first.
Just a good reminder of how tough this game is and how hard it is to be at the top of your game through what is a very long and trying season.
Yeah, certainly. I think if we had any sort of notions of getting ahead of ourselves, then we were certainly put back in our place yesterday. And there's no easy games during the year. So, as I said, we can't look any further ahead, and we can't get ahead of ourselves. We've just got to keep working hard, and we've done some really good stuff up to this point of the year. So we've just got to make sure that we continue down that path, and as I said, not get ahead of ourselves.
Do you think there is any sense of that?
No, I don't think so. And we'll make sure that
if that sort of thing starts to creep in, then we'll stamp it out pretty quickly.
Just a quirky one from a fan's point of view. Forbes, obviously, yesterday we saw him, Ian Cullen, kick goal inside 38 seconds, and next thing, off the ground onto the interchange bench. Is that like a prescribed rotation before the game, or because he's kicked the goal he has to come off, or how does that unfold?
Yeah, well, we like to make sure that we keep our rotations high and keep guys who are fresh on the bench coming into the game. I think that's just, to start the rotations, because you can't have sort of 3 fresh guys come on, 5 or 6 minutes into the game. We've got to sort of keep the rotations starting early so that we've always got fresh guys coming on.
Does it interrupt as a player, like if you kick the goal and you're sort of feeling right into the game, does it interrupt your personal momentum having a go off?
Yeah, it can, but you're not off the ground for long these days. It's only a minute, so anything that you had before you went off the ground, in terms of how you were going, you still get that when you get back out there.
It just seems remarkable for us watching though, like, the game's not even a minute old, you can barely raise a sweat, let alone get tired enough to need a rest.
Yeah, well, as I said, it's purely just to start the rotations and make sure that, 5 or 6 minutes into the game, we don't have 3 fresh guys coming on, and then, a couple of minutes later, guys are looking for a blow and there's no one fresh to come on. So, as I said, it's just to get the rotation started.
Jason, you've got extraordinary luck on the injury side of it, so you've got this enormous depth. Is this the week where Brenton delves into that, to start not worried about credit points? I'm going to reward players who are actually playing well somewhere else. Yeah,
possibly. There are some guys who are putting in some really strong performances in the SANFL, so that's encouraging. And as you say, we've got a lot of guys to pick from and great depth at the moment. So guys who aren't performing in the senior side will certainly come under scrutiny this week.
How's Kurt Tippett? Have you had a chat to him?
Yeah, he's going alright. He just said he just copped a heavy knock in the second quarter and was a bit dazed. So he said he feels better this morning, and he'll just have a light day today, and he'll be a test during the week.
Does he know whereabouts the knock was?
I think he just got one to the back of the head, just in a marking contest. He said he remembers everything pretty clearly. So just a knock to the back of the head.
I guess you guys wouldn't try and look at the ladder a lot, but are you frustrated that you missed an opportunity to sit at the top of the table yesterday?
Is that right? I didn't know we were top of the table.
If you won, you would have gone top. Yeah.
Okay. Oh well. Yeah, certainly. I mean, we have to keep winning to make sure that we're right up the top, and we have an opportunity to do that every week. So obviously yesterday was one that we missed, and we've just got to make sure we bounce back this week.
Your body, how's it been holding up this year? You must be happy that you're stringing games together again.
Yeah, good. Pretty happy. I've got no real complaints, and been able to train regularly during the week, and as you say, getting consistency with games is good.
Jason, did you thought that you just had too much time between games? The bye, then a Friday night, and then a Sunday twilight, did that wind you guys down too much?
Yeah, that's certainly a possibility. I'm not sure whether there's any truth to it or not, but we trained hard during the week and made sure that we were still getting the work in. So we try to safeguard against that, and we have trust in the physical performance team that they know what they're doing with our training. So certainly that won't be an issue this week. We've got to make sure that we recover well and get ourselves up.
In your landmark game, when you were injured, did you have any doubts that you might get to that landmark?
This week? Yeah, certainly. I think I've probably placed a bit more emphasis on each game that I get, and making sure that I make the most of it. And I've certainly missed a lot through injury, so it's nice to get there.
How have you seen your form this year, personally?
I think it's been okay. Probably not quite to the level that I would like, but I feel like I'm contributing to a level most weeks that is satisfying for the group. So Certainly, I've got some areas that I think I can work on and get better at, and you know, hopefully I can keep building in the second half of the year.
When you say bounce back this weekend, you would slightly happy with just a win at any cost, so you need to really stand out that sort of letting the opposition get a run on during the game as well.
Yeah, I think we've got, you know, a few areas that we're probably going to take out of the game on the weekend that we need to focus on and get right. But certainly a win would be a good start, and you know, that'll probably be the main focus going in.
Who's most challenged by it individually?
By what exactly?
To respond this week?
Players, I think. You know, we're the ones that put out the product on the field, and you know, the playing group, we've all got to sort of stick together, and you know, coaching staff have to support the players. Players have to return the faith in the coaching staff. So you know, we're all in it together, but ultimately we're the ones that are out there on the field delivering. So
The one area that praised last week for having a deeper running midfield, but then this week it relied on three blokes. Sloane, Dangerfield, Thompson, 36% of the contested possessions. So while it might look a bigger midfield, is it actually a deeper midfield? Are there guys who can slip in and pick up the slack?
yeah, I think that's been certainly one of our strengths. As you know, the guys that you mentioned, they've all had great years, but we're still very confident that we've got a lot of guys who can go through there and just do their role, and you know, that might not mean getting a great amount of contested possessions. You know, playing their role might be something entirely different, but certainly those guys who are in there are very good in that area, and we rely on them a lot. But there's a lot of guys that, to make sure that we play well, we rely on a lot of guys going through there and doing their job.
Is there any comparison this week to what it was like after you played Hawthorn? That there was a lot to do with after that game as well?
I think we've come a long way from that game, certainly. You know, we've improved in a lot of areas, become a lot more consistent, but you know, we did take a step back yesterday, and we've got to make sure we bounce back. You know, we've bounced back after each loss this year, so you know, we're a strong group, and we've got some good resolve, and we'll make sure that we fix the areas that we were down on yesterday.
You're out there, so you see how it works up forward. Is that three tools, having that extra wrap and the bonus, or is it actually not working as it should?
Oh, I think it's got some advantages, and also, you know, you probably give up sort of that forward pressure that we spoke about before, that Jarrah's been so good at for us. So, you know, we can certainly stretch the defence at times, and I think we've seen it work really well for us this year. You know, Tippo's been really good at times. Taylor's had a really consistent year, and the other guys that have come in as that third tool, you know, Josh Jenkins and Sean McKernan, Sam Jacobs, when he's been down there, have all been able to stretch the defence at times.
Sando let off any steam yesterday at half-time or after the game?
No, he's been pretty calm, and certainly yesterday in the game we talked about trying to remain positive and stay in the game, and we still thought we were a good chance if we could, you know, fix some things up and get it right. But you know, I'm sure during the week he'll be pretty hard on guys, and you know, make sure that we get ourselves up in whatever way, you know, whatever way that that manifests itself in the way that he comes through then.
Jason, where are you on the $64 million question that goal kicking hasn't improved over a century of the game? And it gets more baffling because those early shots from McKernan and Tibbett weren't with the usual argument that it's fatigue setting and all that sort of thing.
I think a lot more practice needs to be done. If you want to get better at something, then you've got to practice it, and probably it's an area because so much time is put into other areas. You know, you've got to recover, you've got to work on other areas of your game, and sometimes that gets not, you know, doesn't get the attention that it probably requires. So to get better at something, you've just got to practice it, I suppose, and make sure that when you are practicing it, that you're doing it right. And probably because there's so much emphasis put into other areas. That's an area that has not picked up as it has, the fitness and the recovery and, all that, the other side of the game, defensive side of the game plans, all the rest of it. A lot of time goes into those areas, but maybe not so much in the goal kicking.
So how much time is in goal kicking now?
We probably have one specialised session a week, and guys do a little bit after training, but we probably often don't have the time. I know guys who have struggled in that area. Kurt Tibbett is the example that I often use, that he's worked really hard and spends a lot of extra time on his goal kicking, and he's improved a lot. But compare that to guys who played 20 years ago, who would go out before and after training and could practice and have 100 set shots, before and after training 3 times a week. We probably don't get that repetition and that practice that those guys sort of had.
So how long would that specialised session go for?
Probably 30 minutes, yeah.
Are you actually told how many kicks a goal you can have a week, or the loading? Is that an issue? Or?
Yeah, that's, as I said before, that's an issue where you've got to make sure that you're recovered well and not to push the boundaries too far with that loading. But there's no set amount that guys are told that they can have or can't have, or